Hello and welcome to the SEGA Mega Masters show, the German edition today. We have our usual panelists. We have Viraj.
Nice to meet you guys. Nice to see you guys again.
We have Steve O.
Hello.
And we have the Rick.
A real American hero he is. All right.
I'm talking like an idiot in German because today we are going to be talking about Herzog Zwei. And I'll stop that now. Sorry about that. But we're about Herzog Zwei today, and it's Steve's choice of game. So I will pass it to Steve so he can introduce it.
Let's go.
All right. So here we go. Herzog Zwei is a strategy game. And it released in North America in, I think, April of 1990. So the first quarter of 1990. It came out in Japan right at the end of 89. I believe sometime like around Christmas of 89. So it's a pretty old game. It's one of the, I would say it's one of the, the earliest Genesis titles that's strategy based. I believe it only released for the Mega Drive. I don't think that, and Genesis. I don't think that it's on any other platform, from what I can understand. From what I've seen, there was a sequel that I believe was available on PC or some obscure systems in Japan, but this was pretty much the one and only. It's really good. If you liked games like Risk or General Chaos. It's a war-based strategy game that it just has some really great aspects to it. I've had it since I was a kid. This is a really pretty old game. I probably got it when I was 13, 14, something like that. So I've had this all this time. Graphics aren't extremely detailed, but for 89, it looks really good. Overhead view, similar to what I would say Truxton. Like the overhead view of Truxton looks very similar to the makeup of Herzog Zwei. And you're basically one army, and you are fighting against a second army. And the idea of the game is to build your army and get as many. You have to build your own tanks, and you have to build bases once you take one over, and then man them. And you also have to defend it. So you have to spend money. And the way you make money is by taking over more places. So it's really a race to see who can make up the most amount of money to buy the most amount of things in order to defend and attack your enemy the best. So that's where the strategy comes into play. So it's really making smart decisions as to how you build your forces and where to place them and how to go about attacking the other guy and when to. That's the general synopsis of the
game. What about you, Viraj? Your first memories of this, mate?
Well, I was a choir boy when this game came out. I was too young for this game, and it's not a game that I had. But it's a game. My first memory was obviously when emulation became a thing in the late 90s. You could download anything now on the Mega Drive on the computer. So I was just downloading all these games I never had. I thought, wow, okay, let's give these a go. So I downloaded this game, the Herzog Zwei. What is this? It sounds a bit weird. I didn't know anything about it. This is back in the days when we had 56k dial-up, man. So it was like even that we had to wait 3 seconds for a picture of the game to download. Like, no, I'm just going to download the game. So I downloaded the game illegally, and I played it on an emulator. And then you first see the title flash up, and you're like, oh, okay, there's a tank here. This is cool. And it's like down, 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 down. It's got this little techno music, techno soft. I thought, oh, what is this? Okay, this is cool. It's probably my first ever techno soft game I played. This thing. I'm like, okay. What's this game about? And also, I know nothing about this. I go into this. Oh, cool! It's like a little aeroplane. I get to shoot things, to shoot them up. No, boy, was I wrong. It was something completely different. So yes, you do fly it around. I'm like, what am I doing? Where am I going? What's this? How does this work? You press the B button to shoot. Okay, I'll get that. A transforms you into some sort of, it's like a mech thing. It's like a mech thing. It's like a jet that turns into a man. You walk around. Okay, what's going on here? And the C button, oh, it's a menu system. What is this? And then I look at it all. I'm thinking, there's all this iconography here. Okay, this is about building bases. And at that time, I was familiar with Command and Conquer. That's a real-time strategy game. I knew that this had something to do with real-time strategy. As I played along it, I thought, I don't understand how this game works, because the idea is I realized that at that point, at that young age, I'm going to have to read about this to understand how it works, and then I put it down and I never played it again until later years, when people on these forums, on these wonderful Sega forums that we're all part of, said, "No, give Herzog Zwei. It's a really good game, really good game. It must be good. I mean, it's on the Sega Mega Drive Mini 2 or Genesis Mini 2. It was preloaded as a game that came on there." I'm looking at the synopsis there. It says, release year 1990. Play the real-time strategy game that sparked the RTS genre. So this is like the first real-time strategy game. That's what Sega are saying. Build your base, deploy your troops, and fight for control of relay stations around the city on your mission to conquer the enemy base. Can you win the title of Supreme Commander? So it's obviously they're trying to amp this game up in all these years later. And obviously this has also had a Switch release. It was a Nintendo Switch Sega Ages port that was released.
Yep.
And that actually has a tutorial. For young people out there who are interested in this game, best way to play it is a Switch Sega Ages port, because it has a tutorial. You don't need to read the manual. I read the manual because I'm old school. But yeah, long story short, my first impression was, this ain't no shoot 'em up, man. We're not in Kansas anymore. We gotta grow up and play this game, and that's why I put it down. I think it was in '99 when I played this game the first time, at the end of the '90s when emulation became a big thing. But subsequently, the second time I actually picked up and played it was with the Mega Drive Mini 2, and with your guys say so. Look, we're gonna look at reviewing this game. Give it a proper go, Viraj. Give it a go, because all three of you are very intimate with this game. I was a newbie to it, as usual. It's becoming a usual thing now. You guys have played some of these games, which I never really gave that much thought about. I was more into the cutesy mainstream stuff on the Mega Drive, which is great. But this thing really did stand out because it's very unique. That's what I will say about this game. There's no other game like it on the system, and there has been no other game since like this.
Yes, that's a very good point, mate. That is a very good point. I mean, I'll give you my quick memories on it, and it's really fucking brief. This were a game that just totally bypassed me. I just didn't get as a kid. I looked at the cover. I thought the artwork were brilliant. I was like, wow, that looks great. But again, the title, Herzog Zwei, what's this? Like, my initial thoughts were, a German game. What? I don't get it. It's a German thing. What the heck? And I saw a bit of gameplay footage of it. And same as you, Viraj, it looked a bit. I was like, I don't get it. I'm not really with it. So I just left it. What wasn't on my radar, and I'm a big Technosoft fan. I love the Thunder Force games. I love the Devil Crash games and Elemental Master. Loved them, but it just didn't snag me. I did try it later years on emulation, but by that point I'd played a lot of real-time strategy games, and it still didn't snag me. So yeah, I'm actually in a similar boat to you with this one, Viraj. I only recently got into this, probably about 2 years ago. I'd say maybe 3 years ago. 2, maybe 3 years. So so that's my memories of this. What about you, Steve? What were your initial memories of this, mate?
I didn't get it right away when I got the Genesis. I got it a little bit after. And I think I wound up, I think I traded for it. You get tired of a game after a while, and, I trade a friend for something else. And I was like, I never played it, never heard of it, never saw it, never saw any reviews in any magazines. And I was trading a bunch of games I was just tired of. And I saw this one in the box, of games that he had. And I'm like, yo, what is that? And I'm like, the cover looks cool. And I want to trade it. I was actually in high school taking German, so I'm like, I translated it right away. I'm like, it's Duke 2, I knew what it meant. So I'm like, it's got to be some kind of war type game. I mean, obviously from the the cover photo and everything that you see. So I'm like, that sounds like something I'd be into. So I brought it home and I read the manual, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I used to like strategy type games. I used to like role playing and like Dungeons and Dragons type games, but strategy games were great because you got to really think. It's not just like walk in, let's shoot everything. I love shooters. There's no thinking involved. You're gonna kill everything. You know, the only strategy in a shooter is, like we need power ups. We got to hit the right things to get the power ups we need so we can continue on correctly. This is like you're thinking the entire time. So it's a lot like playing a game Risk, or something similar, like a board game Risk or something like that. So I really got into it and I enjoyed it. It was, for a kid my age, like this was a game that was at my level at that time that I wound up getting, 14, 13, something like that. It was challenging, and learning how to play it correctly. Like today, if you want to say, I don't know how to play this game. Let me watch a YouTube video. Somebody's got to have a review on it. Somebody's got to have, some type of, strategy guide for it, or a tutorial or something like that. Like the Switch version, you get the tutorial, which is really cool. The Switch port. But this, you have to figure it out, and it's not so easy to figure out like right away. You definitely got to read the manual, and and play it and learn. And I loved it, man. For me, it was just a great game.
Nice one, mate. Nice one. Well, now we've got Rick back. He's back on his second life. What were your first memories of this game, then, Rick?
So we loved this game as a kid. This was a time-honored favorite among me and my friends. Oh boy, we used to play this game for days on end, all night long. We would have tournaments with this game, and it would get pretty brutal. It would get kind of personal sometimes, I would say, because you could you can play dirty on this game. Like you can put a bunch of surface-to-air missiles around your enemy's base, and then put some supply trucks to keep arming the missiles, and then your opponent can't even keep form. Like he keeps exploding, so it can get pretty frustrating, and you can be nasty. Yeah,
even against the computer, you can beat this game if you're good at it within 40 minutes. Like if even on hard, even you can beat it 40 to 45 minutes if you do everything correctly. Like once you kind of like you excel at this game, like you get better and better at it the more that you play it. You learn more of like, oh, I shouldn't have done that because I got killed. And I have to start back over from my base again, and now I lost this. So you learn not to make those mistakes, and the longer you play it, man, the better you progressively get at it, which I totally agree. And you can play dirty, you know what to do, how to destroy everyone in this game, man. It's great.
So so what are your thoughts on it then, now, Steve? If it, like you say, I mean, it's got that it's got a lot of scope to it, isn't it? So how do you find it holds up today?
I think it holds up pretty well, in my opinion. There really isn't anything else that you can really compare it to. Maybe you could say Dune is a comparable type of game, or like I said, Risk, which Risk really isn't all that great on Genesis. Let's be honest. It's like an $8 game. These days. That's why it's not. It wasn't really that good. There's a few Japanese games that are similar. As far as the type of strategies where you have armies you need to move here and there, like what's that one, the Bunga's Revenge, or there's a couple. There's a few that are only in Japanese too, like you can't even play. So as far as an English speaking game, and it's got action in it too. It's not just like Risk, you're just moving pieces and nothing really happens. There's battle, man. So it's like strategy with battle, with you could exploration. You could fly around and look for different places and start at different places. You don't have to always start at the same spot. You can start in a different place and work your way back the other way. You can attack where you want to start taking stuff over. So every time you play it, you can do it differently. Which is unique to this game. You can't do that in General Chaos. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean that's kind of what I'm talking about as far as like it being a super unique strategy type game. That it's really difficult, like Viraj says, to compare it to anything, because there really hasn't been another game that I've ever seen like this. And I think it holds up.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. What about you, Viraj? What are your thoughts on it today, buddy?
I mean, goodness me. Let's just to compare about. Well, there are other simulation games. Obviously, we talk about General Chaos. There was Cannon Fodder. There was Worms. But this is regarded as the first ever real-time strategy game. This is the foundation for. I mean, you mentioned Dune 2. This was actually an inspiration for them to go and develop Dune 2 afterwards. Yeah, that's the truth. This is the first of its kind. Okay, so now playing, I'm thinking. Obviously, I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled by games like Command and Conquer. That's the thing, and that is the real-time strategy game. But there would be no Command and Conquer. Western Studios would not have flourished if it wasn't for this particular game. So I have to keep that in mind when talking about this game. But it is primitive.
Liberty or Death is another one that kind of comes to mind in a similar type of gameplay, but nothing is exactly like this.
I mean, there was a spiritual successor, a sequel called Air Mech Delta by Ubisoft. That was back in 2013. But in all fairness, this is the one that stands out, that everyone talks about, generally speaking. And like I say, it's on the Mega Drive Mini 2, so it must be good. So I gave it a go. Obviously, we did it for review purposes. So now playing the game, which is what I have to do with these games. I have to really play these games. You guys are torturing me, making me play these games. But I thought, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this because this is out of respect for Steve-O, because it was his choice. I'm going to play this game, give it a go. So I'm playing this game. I turn it on. I think, okay, so there's me, and I've got to learn about the iconography first. I've got to know what I've got to do. I've got to know what unit does what units has its strengths, what has its weaknesses, what it's strong against. Okay, we've got to capture the base, we have to build the base and all that. And think, okay, the difference between this and any other RTS I've ever played is this is intense. This is hard. This can be quite hard because unless you don't know what you're doing, you don't follow a sequence, and you're not multitasking. It teaches you how to multitask, and it can get very hard. They'll come for you. The enemy will come for you. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to have a strategy in your head. And it's like you said, Steve. It is a real time. It's not like Risk. That's a turn-based strategy game. I'd say that's a board game. This is a real-time strategy game. It's all happening live. You have to be ready and you have to get going. So yes. Go just again, like with most Mega Drive games, just prepare to lose, but learn from your mistakes. And thinking, okay, and you have to be patient with this game. You have to have a degree of patience. You have to have an interest in real-time strategy. I think what hurts the game is you have to learn about it to get in. There's no tutorial, and that's why I say you're gonna play this game, play the Switch Sega Ages version. It's easier. That's what I did in the end. I was like, I'm just gonna play this version, and the tutorial just helps you step by step explain how the game plays. Another great thing about the Sega Ages Switch port is you can actually play two-player online. Not that there was anyone on the server waiting to play for me. It's like I was the only one playing this game because it's not the most popular game. No, it's not Fortnite, is it? But it's there. And it's a really good. That Sega gave this game a lot of love with the Sega Ages Switch port, and that's really the best way to play this game. Like going back to really, there's no real difference with the Mega Drive. Again, another dimension of this game that I haven't explored is it's two-player simultaneous. You can play against someone, and it's like what Rick said. This game would open up a whole new dimension if you played with someone. And I think that would be a lot more fun than getting your ass kicked by the computer all the time. It would be more fun playing with someone. So definitely a game that you can be playing with someone who knows how to play it. But what I think, like I said, the barrier to entry for this game, the thing that I struggled with was learning to play it and getting around it. But once I've got around to it, it's a hell of a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to play. I enjoyed it immensely. Even though I lost a million times, but I learned from it. Many times in exaggeration. I probably lost about 5 times till I won, to be fair. But I enjoy playing this game, and I can really get into this game if I'm being honest. The only problem is am I going to replay it again because I've been spoiled with other games? That's the thing that I'm much more incredulous in terms of the variables that they offer, in terms of the gameplay dynamics. Obviously, something like Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun is a lifetime away from this. And even beyond that, you have Tiberian Wars, which is a lifetime away from that. So again, real-time strategy has become a lot much easier to get into with the newer games, but it's got a lot more going for it. This is like, compared to that, it's like a 5-a-side kickabout as a game. It's just a quick pick up and play if you know how to play it. So
yeah, that's a great shout, that mate. It's essentially an arcade strategy, isn't it? Really,
it's an arcade strategy game. Yeah, so it has fun. In terms of the music on this game, I want to talk about the music for a bit because no one really talked about this. There's some pretty jammy, like some really good FM synth tracks on it. That can really
it's pure techno soft, isn't it? Pure techno soft, brilliant.
The soundtrack is awesome on this game.
Amazing sound. I like it. So that's what I like about these. So it had that gritty sort of synth sound, which I really like. So I like that. The graphics, like Steve said, is very good. It's not like one of these like tiny little sprite games that some of these earlier 16-bit games had. It's got nice, decent sprite sizes. It's got good colors, good use of coloring. In terms of the way the game plays, the game has a fluidity to it in terms of controlling it. There's no lag in the control. There's no issues in regards to that. It's very easy to play the game in terms of your input. You just got to be very, very quick at what you're doing with the way you play this game. I think the barrier to entry is there is no easy mode on this. It is quite a difficult game to get into, but once you pass that, it's a hell of a lot of fun. So that's my thoughts on the game as it is now.
Sam, nice one, mate. Yeah, nice one. What about you, Rick? How do you find it today, buddy?
This game stands the test of time.
Nice.
It never gets old. I can pick this game up and play it. I'm sure I'll be able to do the same 10 years from now. It doesn't lack any kind of enjoyment for me, and I'm glad that you guys touched on the soundtrack on this game, because that is like one of the most important aspects in my opinion. This game was made by the same people that made the Thunder Force series, and those games had some incredible soundtracks. The music in this game really sets the pace, because it is a fast-paced, high-intensity action game, and it can get pretty crazy. Like, you have to deal with the terrain, depending upon the stage you're playing. You could lose troops; they could fall into the lava and get burned up. They could fall into a crevasse and then they're useless. You can run out of ammunition. It's just got so many aspects to it that just keep on making it a more complex, but still simple enough to enjoy. I like to think of it as the best single-serving military strategy game ever made.
Nice.
In my
Okay.
Nice one,
Big
mate.
claim.
Nice.
Big claim.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, my thoughts on it now. Like I say, I only played it for the first time a few years ago, and once you get into it, I agree, mate. It's very addictive. I think it's one of these games that it when it clicks, it really starts to eat into your time. You can find yourself getting really sucked into it, especially 2-player. I mean, like the 2-player element on this is a big selling point, and I think that intensity that you've all talked about, that intensity, that in some ways pushes it to the front of the queue for me, ahead of other real-time strategy games, because it's that the shooter element and the action element really make it stand out, as opposed, you're not just thinking, you're not just sitting back and waiting for things to happen. You are actively involved in defending things, in destroying things, in making things happen. So that really keeps me addicted to it. But I do also agree that the learning curve and the accessibility for the game is quite a steep one for the original Mega Drive game. If you're gonna be playing this, the Switch tutorial is going to make your life way easier, way easier. And this is one I don't like to recommend to people playing a game if they've been remastered or remade or in a new form, because generally speaking, they tend to make them worse. A great example of that is Glade Lancer, and the Switch version of Glade Lancer adds a load of features like a rewind feature. And a few quality of life features that actually make it a worse game for me. If you try to get into it via that way, it just cheapens it, and you skim the game as opposed to getting into the nitty gritty of the game. But for me, this is one rare exception, which I would say you're better off playing the Switch version to get into it to start with, because it is just it just makes life a lot easier. But like I say, and the Technosoft soundtrack, I mean, Technosoft for me are probably the most underrated developers of that era, or publishers. You know what I mean? I think everyone talks about Konami, they talk about Capcom. You know what I mean? They talk about big names like that, Rare and everything. a lot of my top 50 games of that era are Technosoft games. You know what I mean? Like we said, we already mentioned the Thunder Force games. We've got 3 banging games. You've got your Elemental Master, Devil Crash. You know what I mean? You've got these wicked games, and you've got Herzog Zwei. So I still feel like it's not a game that's it's not a easily digestible game. You have to work at this game, but it's a good game. So that's my opinions on it. So I think if we go around and get everybody's rating on it, then. So yeah, back to you, Steve, for your rating, then, buddy.
8.
8. Boom.
8.
Boom. That's it. Boom. That's it.
Great, man. Straight up, this is an 8.
Okay, so before I give my rating, I'll just say, look, I do think it's a very, very good game. Okay, I think it's a very, very good game. Again, with me, it's a case of where it loses points is accessibility in terms of how you can access the game and getting into it. That's the only real difficult part, and the fact that if you've been like sport like I have with some of the newer stuff, you won't really want to get into it as much. You won't be as driven to it as much, or you won't come back to it as much. So they're the 2 main things. You know, and it's complex. Let's be honest, it's a complex game. Even once you've learned everything that's in there. So for me, it's a 7. It's a 7. 7, yeah, solid 7. I think.
Cool. And what about your good self, Rick?
This game is so cool. I love it. Like, you get to control basically a transformer. You're a robot that turns into a plane. Like, I needed to make that point there because that's just too awesome. This game, I'm going to have to give it a 9.
A 9.
Yeah, I love America.
There we go, brilliant. Well, let me chuck my oar in then. So I'm gonna agree with Steve on this one. I'm going for an 8. I think it's a really great game. It's just like we've talked about. It's just getting into it, and it's got a lot. Like Rick says, it's got a lot of awesome. It's got a lot of awesome, but I guess getting to that awesome ain't the easiest thing in the world. You know what I mean? You do have to dig to it. So that gives us an average rating of 80%.
Okay.
So yeah, we have it.
That was so hard to calculate, but yeah, it's good. That's a solid score. There we go.
Yeah, sweet. So we will see you on the next show, SEGA Mega Masters. I'll say it normally. To be this good takes ages. To be this good takes SEGA. See you next time, everyone.
See you next time.